Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, today we're going to talk about escalation clauses, also called an acceleration clause. It's that time of year when these things pop up. People start using them. We're going to go give an example of one. This is effectively one that actually happened, but and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of using them and whether they're legal or not. So let's start with this first of all, Oana. What is it? Tell them what an escalation clause is. What does that even mean?
So it means that the buyer is willing to pay a certain amount over the highest offer up to their limit.
So give an example.
Okay, so let's say, for example, you have your house listed at $500,000, and there are multiple offers. Yay! And the buyer comes in and says, okay, well, I'll pay $490 for the house, but I will pay $2,000 over your highest offer up to $510. So your other offers are maybe $490, $500, maybe $505. And this guy came in at $495, but he's willing to pay a couple thousand over. So at that point, your highest offer is $505, so technically he would pay you $507, right? Because he's paying up to $510.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that means.
Okay, so it's just this goofy trick. We're going to get into the details of it, but that's effectively what it is. It's an offer where you basically say, hey, I'll pay up to this amount, but I don't want to pay that amount, right? Okay. First of all, let's do this. There's 3 examples of states where it may be legal or not. Give us the examples. Like, is this legal? Is it not legal? How does that work?
So in some states, it's completely forbidden. Period. The end. Can't do it.
Okay.
In some states, it's the way people do business. So It's done all the time.
They have rules for it, right?
And they have rules for it.
Okay.
And some states are kind of gray about the whole thing. Well, sort of. You could do it, but we're not that fond of it.
Okay. Nevada, so Texas, for example, it's illegal. It's actually written into state law that offers on real estate have to be defined. They can't be variable offers like that. And agents actually get trouble if they are helping a buyer and seller negotiate a deal with one of these variable, which is this variable offer, right? In some states, they use them all the time. Nevada is a state, so we've sold 3,000 houses, is listing, so we see the offers come in. How many of these have you actually seen?
Probably a handful, not very many.
20 maybe?
Yeah, so not very many. They're not very popular. And here's the thing, because they're not very popular, a lot of agents don't have experience with them. What we use here, instead of an escalation clause, we use what's called highest and best, right? And the reason we do that is because there has been an opinion that has been written by I think it was a real estate commissioner that wrote it, that basically said, hey, look, these escalation clauses are not fair to all parties. And the first thing that you sign in Nevada when you're working with a real estate agent is this form called Duties Owed of a Real Estate Licensee in the state of Nevada. And that says, amongst other things, that we will be fair and honest with all parties. So the thought is that these escalation clauses are neither fair nor honest to all parties. So the real estate division would prefer for us not to use them. Now, the real estate division, these are the people that control our licenses. So we tend to kind of perk up when one of the commissioners has something to say. So that's a lot of the reason why we don't use them.
Okay. Something very interesting that Oana said. This actually came out in 2004. Now, 2004 in Las Vegas was this extremely hot market, and it was very competitive, right? It was the first housing boom that we had. And the people started doing these escalation clauses. And agents were getting upset, saying, hey, why didn't I get the house? Oh, somebody else had an escalation clause. What's that? Well, they beat you by $1,000. How did they even know what our offer is? Well, that's the way it works. They just we tell them what the highest offer is, and then they get it for $1,000 more than that. Okay. So the real estate commission, the whole commission got together. They're the ones that really are in charge of, they're like the grand jury for real estate in the state.
They are appointed by the governor.
Appointed by the governor. There's 5 of them. And they wrote this paper and this opinion that basically said the state, actual Nevada Administrative Code said it's a violation of state law to expose the terms of an offer to another buyer. And effectively what you're doing is when you do an escalation clause, you're exposing the price of an offer to this other person. And it's unfair to that person, so you don't do them. Well, what's funny was, remember 2021 when things got really hot here? Escalation clauses showed up again. And so the real estate division came out and said, if you're an agent and you're caught doing one of these, it's unethical. We're going to take your license. Now, the average real estate agent doesn't realize this, that this is not something they shouldn't be doing. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do an example of an escalation clause. And then we're going to talk about the game theory, why, if you're a seller, this is not good for you. You do not, this will not get you the most amount of money. And then some psychology about it, but basically it's math.
Right.
And it's difficult because it doesn't involve clear math. And we'll talk about that.
So one caveat to what Todd just said is that in our listing agreements, there is a section where the seller can initial giving us permission to disclose the presence of other offers and the terms of other offers. So like the price or whether they're cash or financing, something like that. But we do not disclose the offer itself. So what I mean by that is in a lot of states where they have these escalation clauses, you have to present at least the front page of the offer to the other party saying, hey, I really do have this offer for this many bananas. Now, the reason we don't do that is because that violates the privacy of that buyer. So now you're identifying who that buyer is, that this buyer is Joe Smith and he's willing to offer this many bananas. So that's why we don't do it that way. But we do have permission, if the seller gives it to us, to disclose the presence of other offers and what the other offers are.
Okay, here we go. This is an example we're going to put up here, escalation clause. Now, this is an example of an escalation clause. This is actually based on one of the 3,000 houses we sold. It was memorable for me, and I'll tell you why as we go through this, right? Okay. The list price of the house was exactly $300,000.
Okay.
Now, this was absolutely at the bottom of the market. $300,000 at the time was literally 90% of all homes in Vegas were less than that. So this was a pretty nice home. Mm-hmm. It had been, I think it was $700,000 at the top peak of the market, just like 4 years earlier. Got 2 offers on it. Offer number 1's $280,000. Mm-hmm. So it's a low ball. Now the house was super nice as far as the layout, the location, size. It was a little dated. It had to have some work done on the inside. Offer 2 is $285,000. Mm-hmm. So I've got these 2 offers. Now, for this example, what we're going to do is we are going to give an example of offer 3 being an escalation clause. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, pretend you're the seller, and you're looking at this. You get 2 offers. Your agent calls, says, "I got 2 offers," and we'll pretend it's you. I get 2 offers, $280,000, $285,000. Yeah. So you're like, okay, so $285,000 is the highest, and you've anchored on that $285,000. Mm-hmm. That's like in your mind, okay, I'm going to get at least $285,000 probably, mm-hmm. right? And then I get a phone call, and an agent goes, okay, I have an offer. Great. They go, it's $275,000. I go, but they go, hold on a minute. It's $275,000, but we're willing to go $310,000, but I got $1,000 escalation amount, which means I'll beat your best offer by $1,000 up to $310,000. Mm-hmm. So I come to you and I go, hey, I've got an offer for you it's $1,000 over your highest, so $285,000 is your highest. They're basically willing to they'll do $286,000. Mm-hmm. So they'll just be the highest one. Mm-hmm. First, let's talk about this. Before we talk about strategy, mm-hmm. they do expose the most they're willing to pay, $310,000. Mm-hmm. Now, you as the seller, some people, what's one possible opportunity, or what's one thing you could do if you were the seller?
I'm just going to counter them back at $310,000.
Okay, you could do that. All right. Because, okay, what's something else you could do?
I could ask for highest and best from all of them.
You could ask for highest and best from all of them. What if the $280,000, $285,000 just said, no, that's our highest and best?
Which is why I would go with $310,000 with the one who's trying to get the better of me.
Okay. If you get an idea for what's happening here, I went through a whole thread on Reddit. Now, I know a lot about this. It's called game theory. Game theory is making decisions within perfect information. The bottom line is this. This is never, ever good for a seller. Now, this is counterintuitive. I know that some people are like, but Todd, they're getting $1,000 more than that 285.
But now I'm
offer.
stuck on 310 because you just told me that the most I can get from this guy is 310. So I've completely in my mind thrown out the 280 and 285 because I see 310 out there on the horizon.
Right. But so in some places you have to actually show the highest offer. I can't just say it's 310. You if you want to accept this offer, you have to actually show them the front page of the 285 and say it's 285, you'll have it for 286, right? But this isn't good for you. And this is why. Statistically speaking, if you were to get 3 offers and 2 of them you knew were low, and I were to tell you there's a 3rd offer out there, and these 2 offers were on the super low end of the spectrum, on average, the 3rd offer, independent of the 2 offers you have, it's going to be average, because on average, your offer is going to be average. There's a statistical chance it'll be much higher. There's a chance it'll be lower. But the odds that the offer would be the same as these is actually not very high. Because if the actual market value is 300, then you have a bunch of different things they could do. They could lowball. They could come in high because they want to get it. They could come in right list price, right? The problem with the escalation clause is you lose the ability to get more money for the house as the seller. This only benefits the buyer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is why I picked this as an example. Okay, this is the real example of what actually happened on this house. There was no escalation clause. What happened was I got these 2 offers that were super low. They're low balls, and I knew they were low balls. I'm like, yeah, these are low balls. The 3rd agent calls, says, Todd, I got a client, loves the house, absolutely loves it, got to have the house. I go, okay. Says, what do you got? I said, I got 2 offers. They go, oh, shit. He's going to be super upset. He goes, okay. Let me go back to him. Comes back, 310. We'll do 3. Tell him 310. We'll send an offer over for 310. Oh, God, I hope we get it. I hope we're I said, look, if anything comes up, where maybe you're not the highest or whatever, we'll maybe do highest and best or whatever. She goes, okay. Go to the seller, show him the 3 offers, 280, 285, 310. Okay. Now remember, the buyer does not have perfect information, but the buyer, all they know is there's 2 offered. They're trying to make a decision. They want the house. They offer 310. Now they could have got it at 300. They could have got it probably at 290, 295. But in this case, they just offered 310. Seller didn't even blink because the market value was about 300. So seller said, 310, I'll take it. They got the house. So the buyer agent was ecstatic that they got this house. But here's the thing, with an escalation clause, it would have cost the seller $24,000. Would have cost the seller $24,000. Now you're probably saying, Todd, what about those situations where the escalation clause wins and the escalation clause is the highest offer that they get them that extra $1,000? Well, I'm going to ask you a pretty easy question, Oana.
Math in public?
If I gave you a 50-50 opportunity, I'm going to give you a for sure in your hand of $286,000. Okay? For sure, you got it in your hand. It's 286, you can put it in the bank. Or I'm going to give you a 50-50 chance between 2 other amounts. We're going to roll the dice. If it's below half, you only get 285. So you lose $1,000. But if it's the coin flip, if it's heads, you get 285. If it's tails, you get 310. Okay, let's talk about the psychology of this. This is why this is important with game theory. The average person, would they take the 286 and be happy, or would they flip the coin? If they lose, they get $1,000 less, but if they win, they get 24,000 more. What would you do as a Romanian? As an Eastern European, former communist.
Okay, so I was never a communist, but that's another story.
Well, I know, but you live in a communist country.
So 2 things. 1, It's about not coming from a position of fear, but coming from a position of understanding.
Okay.
And from a position of understanding, it's that I have nothing to lose by looking at that third offer. Because worst that's going to happen is I'm going to keep the 285, big whoopee skippy. But, the upside is that I could get $24,000 more. So for a $1,000 maybe loss, I could get $24,000 more. That makes a whole lot more sense to me. So I'm willing to roll the dice on $1,000 to get $24,000.
Okay. There is a large subset of people who would not do it. Meaning,
Right.
because their fear, even $1,000, they would regret being $1,000 less. Oh, I can't believe I just lost $1,000. Like I lost $1,000 when they could have got 24,000 more on a coin flip, right? That's part of the reason why these things work. It preys on people's fears. The other thing is this: in 100% of the cases where the escalation clause wins, it's only because their max is the highest of all the offers. So all you're doing is you're taking, in a blind bid where you just submit offers, you're taking your highest possible seller or your highest possible buyer, and you're reducing his amount down to $1,000 above the second person.
Right.
You're basically forfeiting all that money and you're putting it in the buyer's pocket.
Right. So as a seller, I'm interested in netting the most money that I can. And that means that I want the buyers to give me what their top value for the property, not game me for it, because that goes against my pocketbook. Look, any savings that the buyer gets, where's it coming from? It's coming from me, the seller. So when this buyer would have gotten the house for $285 versus $310, well, who lost? The seller. So there's no advantage to the seller to work with an escalation clause. There's every advantage for the seller to not work with an escalation clause and actually have everybody show their cards. Everybody show what is the most that they're willing to pay for the house. Because, with an escalation clause, I already know that this guy's willing to pay $310. So why would I give him the option of only paying $286? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Because these are not valid offers in many states, in Nevada, it's not considered a valid offer. It has to have a defined amount. You can look, it's codified in state law. It has to have a defined amount. You can't have this variable offer amount. So it's not technically, it's more of a negotiating strategy. It's not actual offer. So you don't actually have to I'm forced to take it. Like there was this myth going around by one of the YouTube guys. Who was a radio guy before, that if you get a full price offer, you have to take it. No, you don't have to take it. So that drove a lot of people to offer super high, or to list their homes high because I don't want to. If I get an offer, I have to accept it. No, you don't. You never have to accept it. Not in Nevada. I don't know about other states. So the bottom line is this: if you're using escalation clauses as a buyer, just be aware that the seller may completely ignore it and counter back strictly with a price.
That's what we do. So what we do is when we get escalation clauses, because we do get them occasionally, we either counter back with highest and best if we have multiple offers. If we don't have multiple offers, then we just come back with whatever it is that we want. And that's it. We completely ignore the escalation clause.
Right. Yeah. So this ends up being, I don't know why there's so much misinformation about escalation clauses. I haven't seen them in Nevada. I certainly don't want to be on pro standards hearing when the agent's coming up talking about this. And they were the one who suggested the buyer to do it because it's going to be very bad. It's going to be an ugly day there at the ethics hearing.
Yeah. Well, so I think most agents, I don't know about in other places in Nevada, but in Southern Nevada, most agents in Southern Nevada know not to play that game.
Yep.
Every once in a while you get somebody who wants to play and we just ignore them.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway.
All right. So this was kind of fun. Hopefully you were entertained, maybe laughed a little bit at my game theory. Hopefully you liked the video. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share with us your real estate related comments. If you have had experience with escalation clauses or multiple offers, leave that in the comments and let everybody know what that was like, what your experience was. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Did it benefit you? What did you think? Oh, a story that Todd wanted me to share with you guys. There was a guy, there were two buyers. They both offered on a property. The highest offer got the property, obviously. And then it turned out that the property didn't appraise for that purchase price. The seller said, okay, fine, whatever. We'll just go ahead and lower it to the appraised value. And the property closed. The second buyer, who didn't get the property, then absolutely flipped because he would have paid more for the property. Well, he should have offered more in the first place. Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see you in the next video.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.